Hello, my fantastic students. Today we are going to look at Cristiano Ronaldo's English. Do you know him? I'm sure you do. He is well known, one of the best football players, if not the best football player that's ever lived. But how good is his English? That's what we're checking today. In this video, we're going to be analysing 4 different interviews. One from around his first time at Manchester United in 2003. We're going to be looking at one in 2006, so 3 years into his English journey in England. Then we're going to be looking at another in 2009 when he first moved to Real Madrid. And then he also came back to Manchester United in 2022. And we're going to be looking at an interview from the end of that time when he left in 2023. Now, it's important to note we are not making fun of him here. We are just trying to learn through his various stages so we can see where he began and where he is at now and where he can improve at each step. We can see the evolution throughout the whole thing. So it's very useful for whatever stage you're at when you're learning English. Let's get to the first interview.
How did you enjoy tonight?
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good performance. Team win. It's important.
Are you feeling more and more confident with each game?
No understand.
Are you confident?
No understand. Sorry.
So we can see that, we can feel that feeling that he's feeling right there, yeah? I'm sure some of you have gone through it. But a key thing is he's tried. And that's the most important thing. Actually, I understood everything that he wanted to say. Even though he was just using short sentences, just a few words at a time, I understood everything he was trying to convey in that moment. That for me is a huge plus. If you can just begin the process of talking to people, that's going to be the start of your journey. If you're not talking to anyone at the moment, make sure you take that step and actually start doing it. The more you do, the better you're going to get, as we're going to see as we watch more of these different interviews. So let's look at some grammar points. He says, yeah, is good game.
Yeah, it's a good game.
It could be improved if he said it was a good game. So he's made 2 errors here really. Wrong tense and missing an article. Is important. It was a good game. Then he says it's good performance.
It's a good performance.
Again, past tense. It was a good performance. And then he said team win.
Team win.
The team won. Again, past tense. And then no understand.
Are you feeling more and more confident with each game?
No understand.
Are you confident?
No understand. Sorry.
Which is a common mistake many learners make. They often say no understand, which is fine. At the beginning, 100% fine. But if you want to level up, you'll want to say something like, sorry, I didn't understand. I didn't understand you. Would be even better if you're speaking to someone. And for pronunciation, he says is good game.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Rather than is, if you're going to use the present tense. The tense is wrong, as we said, but just for pronunciation, if we're looking at that, is, it should be is. Next, the word performance.
Performance.
Instead of the way he said it, should be performance. Performance. And then the last thing is, he drops his last letters quite a bit in this video, or at least twice in the short video we watched. So he says, the important without the T at the end.
It's important.
Important. And understand without the D sound at the end.
No understand.
So watch out for that. It happens to a lot of Portuguese and Spanish speakers, especially a lot of final sound dropping. So watch out for that. But for a first interview, remember it's his first time into England, maybe his first time staying there for a long period of time. Maybe he hasn't spoken to many people. Maybe he rarely uses English at this point. So this is a really, really great job what he's done so far. And he can only get better from this point. Key thing is he's tried and we've all understood what he's tried to say. So this is a good start. But now let's look at the 2006 interview.
It's a very tough game, very difficult. I think Fulham play very well. And I think me in the first minute, I feel good. I keep the ball and I try to go to the net and I score a goal, important goal.
So you can see immediately in this interview is a big change in his composure. You can see that he doesn't look as nervous as he did in the first video. Doesn't mean he wasn't nervous. I think he was still probably a little bit to speak in English in front of people, but In this situation, actually, he looks a lot more composed. He's trying his best to put his words. He's sometimes pausing to find the right word, but that's fine. That's very, very natural. Even native speakers do it, so no worries on that one. Let's have a look at some points for him in this one. Well, as we can see immediately, similar things are popping up again. Articles and past tense. In terms of past tense, he says, is very tough.
It's a very tough game.
It was very tough. Fulham play very well.
I think Fulham play very well.
Fulham played very well. I feel good.
In the first minute, I feel good.
I felt good. I keep the ball.
I keep the ball.
I kept the ball. And I score goal.
And I score goal, important goal.
I scored a goal. So article there, a goal. I tried to go to the net.
And I tried to go to the net.
I tried to go to the net. So this past tense is popping up again. That's fine because actually he's speaking a lot more. If you notice in the first interview, he hardly said anything, barely any sentences, basically just singular words. But in this one, he's improved. He's making full sentences, although there are some grammar issues. That's fine. It's much easier to understand what he's trying to say completely, and there's a lot more nuance in there. More specific details have come in. So that's a great improvement. Now he's speaking a lot more, so we can look at his pronunciation a lot more. So we can see that he still occasionally drops the last letter.
Very difficult.
He's difficult. And some English accents do this, like Cockney, for example. They will miss the T sound in that case, but sometimes the letter at the end is dropped. But if you want to sound clear, I suggest to try not to do that unless it's linking between words. Another thing is the TH sound. So he's using a T or D instead of TH sound.
I think Fulham play very well.
So we have to be careful with that. We've seen the video on my channel for TH pronunciation if you want to check it out. But yeah, tongue between the teeth. Just be careful on that one if that's for you as well. But already from the second video, he's been there quite a long time, of course, 3 years. But I've worked with students who have been there longer and their English didn't change from the moment they got there. So he's seen some improvement. He's beginning to make sentences. And a key aspect of that, which he can't change, is the fact that people are talking to him in English. And as he listens to more and more English, he's guaranteed to see improvements because he's going to start making changes to his own English because he's noticing, oh, that's wrong. And he's starting to build his vocabulary and his sentences up a lot more. Something that anyone can do. Let's go to the third video from 2009.
Well, I feel good. No, I'm not 100%, but I'm working for that. I hope to be 100% when we start the season. But it's nice. We training hard all the week. And now we play today 45 minutes. I think it's good. It's good thing.
So from this one, we can take that, again, a bit of progression. He's speaking very naturally. He's using interjections now. You heard the phrase, come up, to give him a bit more time before he says the next thing. The fluency's good. Rarely, not so many pauses or long pauses anyway. He can get onto the next thing as soon as possible. And that's a key feature. Don't just sit thinking about things for too long, just move forward, because native speakers forget things as well, but we just move forward quickly, and that's what I recommend to all my students. Just keep going, and he did a great example of that in this video. So in terms of grammar, yeah, there's some issues with tenses that have popped up again, but I understood everything he said. There wasn't an issue with understanding what he's trying to say to us. Again, past tense has popped up. Continuous this time has popped up, so because he's reverting between a few tenses here.
I'm work for that.
I'm work for that. I'm working on that. So prepositions as well. Prepositions have popped up a few times, but that's what happens as you begin to use the language more. The more frequently you use it, you'll start to see, because you're trying to use things you're not used to using, other things will pop up, and that's completely fine. It's all part of the process. But he's gone from barely speaking a sentence to speaking sentences and trying to pick words out, to now being quite concise with what he's saying, but then there's a few mistakes popping up. But like I said, everyone understands what's being said, so it's not a big issue. In terms of pronunciation, the things that really popped up here, which is interesting, and something I didn't mention at the top of the video, is that he's actually moved to Spain at this point. This is after his first match for Madrid. He played for Real Madrid. And at this point, you have to think that he's probably using a bit more Spanish than English. And you can kind of see it in this, where he says, well, I feel good, not 100%.
Well, I feel good. No, I'm not 100%.
Instead of 100%. So sometimes the H is dropped. Some Spanish speakers, some Portuguese, some Italian speakers suffer with this issue. So it's something you can notice as you go between languages. Actually, if you concentrate your time more on one language than another, then you're going to have these features pop up. And that's what kind of relates to you and your English right now. If you're speaking predominantly in your language, some of the pronunciation features or grammatical features that you're making mistakes with in English come because you spend more time in your native language. And that's completely fine. It depends how much or what you're trying to use English for. The bigger issue is if you're trying to use English in your job and you use it regularly 8 hours a day, or say 5 or 6, or for meetings or whatever, you want to try to improve that. You want to then try and find those mistakes because you can really cure them in that situation. But if it's kind of a hobby, because you spend so much time in your native language, it kind of makes it a little bit more tricky. So you have to force yourself to listen to and read more English so you can, and obviously speak more English, so you can improve that side of your spoken English, or in English in general, your understanding. And now the final video.
I think that they have the things more easily. Everything it's easily. They don't suffer. And I think they don't care. I don't mean only a few in Manchester United, but all the teams, all leagues in the world, the youngers, they are not the same of my generation.
So in this one, for me, this is easily the best one. He's not thinking. You can sense like a very natural progression with some sentences where all the words are beginning to link up. He said, mean only a few in Manchester United.
I don't mean only a few in Manchester United, but all the teams.
Like, it's quite nice flow to that sentence there. So you can see he's been in an English environment, spending more time around English, using more English. So as you use more, you'll find these links will appear and you'll sound more natural. And which is what he sounded here. This is easily the most natural sounding interview of the 4 we watched today. In terms of communicating a message as well, this is great. So he's frustrated, but he's using some really nice advanced vocabulary to describe his situation. If you watch the whole interview, this interview is an hour long. He's speaking in English an hour long. You can sense he's a little bit tense, but he's still using quite advanced language in this compared to previous interviews that we've watched. So if you watch things from a little while ago, you'll see that, not just from the ones today. But this one, yeah, you can see his English has improved quite a lot to this point. And that's interesting because he spent 12 years not living in England. So there's a big gap. It's easy for your English to really go downhill at that point. But he seems to have kept a good level, even living in other countries. So it's something to think about. If you're living in another country after coming back from a native speaking country, you can maintain that level if you really put the time and effort in. You know, it's still definitely available. In terms of grammar, first thing that pops up immediately, he says the things, you don't need the there, so that they have things more easily.
They have the things more easily.
They have things easier. He's saying that the generation, things are a lot easier for them. So rather than more easily, easier. But we can also take from this video that the tenses have improved, which is great. There's a lot less issues with tenses here. We can see some issues with prepositions still. We have mean only a few. I don't mean only a few in Manchester United.
I don't mean only a few in Manchester United, but all the teams.
In Manchester, fine, in and place, no problem. But he said Manchester United. So we're going to put, I don't mean only a few at Manchester United instead. And then the youngers are not the same of my generation.
The youngers, they are not the same of my generation.
Should really be the youngers are not the same as. Okay, that combination is quite common. Same as my generation. And then the word youngers. Of course, the word youngers is not correct. It should be youngsters or it should be younger people. But, you know, in high pressure situations, these things will pop up. You will make a mistake. But the key thing for him is he continues. He doesn't stop. And that's the thing that really causes problems for many learners, is that they try to pause and really think of the word. But actually, you're in a two-way conversation. So that makes the kind of conversation kind of awkward, and then the person, it feels like you have to hurry up and the person might try and fill in the word for you and then you get frustrated. No, you just move past it. It's a mistake, but it doesn't matter. It is what it is. afterwards say, oh, I meant this, oh, I meant, you know, native speakers do that as well. That's very, very common for native speakers when they make mistakes. So don't worry about it. He did a great job of continuing through. What can we take from this video? We can see that even the most confident person in the world can struggle a little bit when using a second language. We saw it in the first video. He really struggled to put across his message. He looked nervous, not introverted, just nervous, uncomfortable, unsure. But he overcome that by practicing and doing more each day. He was forced into situations that made him use English. If you are not in a situation that's forcing you to use English, create it for yourself. If you really want to improve, force yourself to use English in uncomfortable situations and make the uncomfortable comfortable. We can also see that over time, you'll gradually get better, but you will find more mistakes appear. As your fluency increases, you will find more mistakes. That is natural. And then the next step to take is to do, as we saw by the last video, the tenses had improved, hadn't it, for him? You could see it. So he's obviously consciously focused on it at some point, but there were other things that hadn't improved. He's focused on one area, and then once you get to maybe 80-90% consistency in one area, you can move across to the next one. So for him, I'd suggest he's obviously got quite good on tenses. He should then focus on prepositions. But we can see also his vocabulary has improved over time as well. His pronunciation has improved over time as well. So it's sounding a lot more clearer. It doesn't mean he sounds British. You don't have to sound British or American or whichever accent you prefer. You can have your own accent, but the fact is you have to be clear when you speak. So he sounds a lot clearer as he's gone along through this journey. You can do exactly the same with the more practice you do. And that's it for this video, but I promise you this video will also be very useful for you, so make sure you check it out.